Hello everyone, TheMrTrails here, and today we are going to be taking a look at the top 10 Dauntless Players of 2022. How do you calculate such a thing? Well, I took the Dauntless Trial leaderboard of the past year, recorded who was on it, and tallied up how many times those people were on it. The players earned points based on how many top 10 solo, top 5 solo, and top 3 squad performances they had. Solo performances held more weight, as you do need to be able to find several other top players who you're able to play with in order to get on the top spot of the squad leaderboard. However, squad performances did hold more weight this year than they did last year, and there's only one person on the list anyway who doesn't have squad performances under their belt. Let's go ahead and get started, but first a couple of notes. This year's list would not have been possible if it weren't for a few people. I have to give basically all the credit for this video to GFJO13 and Texas, as I myself didn't record the leaderboards at all this year. Those two have continuously kept a list of the leaderboard placements since sometime in 2021, and seeing as they were doing it, I felt I really didn't need to do it myself anymore. And also a major shout out to Furious, who somehow was able to remember a ton of username changes from the past year. And just to say, if he didn't know your name change, I surely didn't know it either. And if your name wasn't completely obvious, then I'm sorry, you're missing data, and there really isn't anything else more I could have done about that, short of messaging literally every Dauntless player that exists to try and find out what usernames that they have used in the past year. But if it weren't for Furious, this first person wouldn't even be on our list. Number 10. Our first player possibly should have been on my list last year. I'm not sure when they started playing. I'm told they are known as Dog, and they are a rather prevalent Chinese player, but they changed their name quite a bit, and I'm not even confident that I found all of their placements. Furious told me this person was definitely on the list, and from there, I felt like CoffeeZilla tracing down crypto transactions to find someone's personal crypto wallet. There are a couple of holes where they could have changed their name in, but if I remember correctly, any other possible name would have had to be in English, and for only a couple of weeks. And as far as I remember, nothing matched up. But anyway, they had 11 top 5 solo performances and 19 top 10 solo performances. Can you tell things were a little more competitive this year? He very commonly took second place in his top performances, but he did get a number 1 performance early in the year. No squad performances from any of the names that I found, but this is a good start to the list. And this video is a lie, because I'm going to actually throw GFJO13 here as well. So we have 11 players. Joe was on our list last year, and he didn't do as many name changes this time. GFJO had a resounding 1 top 10 solo performance, but of course that alone wouldn't qualify him for this list. And even with leaning more on squads this year, he still shouldn't have actually made this list. I'm just forcing him to be on here because he had 54 top 3 squad performances. Like, he couldn't have gotten bored at some point and just played a few more solo trial runs. Although honestly, I don't really blame him. Solos can be pretty boring at times. I asked Joe for an inspirational quote, and he gave me this: "A punch in the face puts a in their place." I mean, I guess that's true sometimes. Probably shouldn't do that. Number 9. Number 9 on our list is Casper. Casper's first top placements were in squads in March and started getting top solo placements in May. Casper appeared on the list for 9 top 5 solo performances, 15 top 10 solo performances, and 19 top 3 squad performances. Several of these performances landed at the number 1 spot, including 1 in solos, as well as 7 number 1 squad performances. I asked Casper if he had anything to say in particular, and he just gave me some memes basically, such as add vitality to trials and make them the best they can be. I would probably advocate for vitality to reduce the part health of the behemoths, at least somewhat, before that would be a thing though. Number 8. Number 8 and number 7 are essentially tied here. So next up on our list is Vocalak, known as both Vocalak and what I called Bonkanak, as it's what it looked like while using Russian characters. He got a number of top placements this year, coming away with 11 top 5 solo performances, 17 top 10 solo performances, as well as fitting in 17 top 3 squad performances, including 3 number 1 placements. His first top placement came against Rezakiri of all things, hitting number 2 on the solo leaderboard. Vocalak simply told me he always tries hard to be better. A lesson we can use both when it comes to our video games as well as in our day-to-day lives. Try hard to be better, my friends. Number 7. At number 7, I'm putting Ateno. With 11 top 5 solo performances, 15 top 10s, and 20 top 3 squad performances, a heavy hitter all year long, from week 1 to the final week. Very similar numbers to Vocalak, but with 8 number 1 squad performances throughout the year, I put Ateno above due to the higher number of number 1 placements, cause there's basically no difference between them otherwise. Ateno actually gave me a reasonably length statement, saying the leaderboard was just a bonus for him, and getting to play with a number of awesome people in the Trials community was keeping him playing the game, and he said even if he stops playing the game, the friendships will remain. Number 6. Coming in at number 6 is JayDash_, but his YouTube name is J_Dash. Why the confusion? I don't know. Jay came in with 12 top 5 solo performances and 26 top 10 solo performances, spending half the year in the top 10. We interrupt this programming to bring you a public service announcement. Introducing grass, the lovely green plant species that is basically everywhere except in your room, unless you bought grass keycaps for your keyboard or something. Jay also had 2 top 3 squads in the same week, but then didn't do a single one otherwise. It may have helped his placement a little bit if he did some more, but squads do be hard to coordinate sometimes. Jay was thankful to meet many Trials players this year, including J-Man, Ateno, and BLS, who introduced him to Trials and who are some of his closest friends. Real quick, before we get into our top 5, I just want to say that I'm probably not doing this next year. There's several reasons for this, which I'm not going to go into details on because it would be boring, but yeah, I'm not going to be doing this next year probably. Number 5. To start our top 5, we have Furious. He was in the honorable mentions last year, having a lot of squad play, but limited solo play, and that's basically the same as this year. He went by several names this past year, but currently going by Fast and Furious, which is probably the best of them, let's be real. Furious had 2 top 5 solos and 10 top 10 solos. And that doesn't sound that good until you hear he had 73 top 3 squad performances, including 24 number 1 squad performances. For both top 3s and number 1s, that is nearly half of what was even available this year. You might want him even higher on the list after hearing that because of just how ridiculous that is. But the rest of the players on the list do have a number of placements in both solos and squads. I asked Furious for a quote, and he said, "Subscribe to TheMrTrails if you haven't. KW." Like, no, seriously, that's what he said. But I mean, you might as well listen to him. That's a smart guy, what can I say? Number 4. At number 4, returning to the top 5 from last year is Beta, with 15 top 5 solos, 26 top 10 solos, and 24 top 3 squads, including 10 number 1 squads and 6 times getting number 1 or number 2 solo. Similar numbers to Jay, but he actually did a good number of squads. One thing Beta noted about squad play in general was that a lot of the squads this year seemed quite random, not having that one dominant core of 4 players like there had been for previous years. Beta said that the community is still more important to him than the game itself, and even though he likes the game, having good friends to play it with is priceless. Number 3. Surprisingly, number 3 on our list is a new entry, and that would be Abood. While he's been in the community a long time now, he never really went try hard on Trials, as far as I know. Starting at the end of January, Abood would go on a rampage throughout this past year. Abood put together an astonishing 20 top 5 solo performances, 35 top 10s, and 10 top 3 squads, including 4 number 1 squads and 5 number 1 solos, having several top 5 streaks throughout the year. The consistency is certainly commendable, and has definitely earned a top spot this year. I asked Abood for an inspirational quote, and he said, "Remove Thunderdeep Drask, please, and make Trials fun again." So wait, you weren't having fun? Then why'd you do it? Like, why? Number 2. At number 2, we have Texas, who now goes by Tex. Though, I'll probably keep saying Texas because my sister changed her name like 6 years ago, and I still call her by her birth name. So it will still be Texas in my monkey brain. Though, I mean, it does make sense because he's actually Polish, but yeah, whatever. But Texas returns to the number 2 spot from last year, even with having less solo times on the board. It's weird to say only here, but with only 23 top 10s, I mean, oh man. How could I even get him up here? 18 of those were top 5s though, 7 of which were number 1s. And even with that, it was basically like half the year he didn't do solos at all. But even though there was less solo play from him than last year, Texas was a close second in the squads category with 71 top 3 squad performances. He did, however, have more number 1 squad finishes than Furious, totaling 27 of those. Undoubtedly one of the top players of the year. Now it's time for the honorable mentions, which is basically just a good number of people who had a chance at making it on last year's metrics. If this was a top 12 like last year, that last spot would be Pissy Ortamacina. He had a good number of solo placements, just not enough squads to crack the list. Other honorable mentions include another Chinese player who was maybe closer to making the list, but I didn't really see any evidence of them changing their name, then some other familiar names, including Scorchwing Myth, T, That One Sniper, Josh Lube, Luffy, BLS. All of these guys had a number of top placements, just perhaps not quite in the right ways to make the list. And finally, number 1, the best Dauntless player of this past year was me, of course. I proved I can go and get a top 5 like nothing if I feel like it, and it would have been a top 2 if my parry at the end had connected. That's it for this one. Catch you guys next time. Memes aside, you probably know number 1. It's Dat Cosplay Grill. I don't even have to say anything profound here. 46 top 5 solos, 50 top 10 solos, and actually playing some squads this year, coming in with 27 top 3 squads. Easily having the most number 1 finishes overall, with 31 number 1 solos and 8 number 1s in squads. Unfortunately, I heard he's been diagnosed with GDD, Grass Deficiency Disorder, so maybe his reign will end here. I asked Cosplay for a quote, and he said, "Cat maths." And then I asked if that was his quote, and he said, "You're my quote." And then the boy Cheese said it should be, "All the cheaters should stop trying, cause he'll just beat them anyway." I don't know, is that inspirational enough for you guys? But what more is there to say? Cosplay dominated Dauntless Trials even more than he did last year. And all around, I'd say 2022 was a better year for Dauntless Trials than 2021 was. More competition, less cheaters clogging up the leaderboard, and if memory serves, there were less bugs affecting times, aside from the very beginning of the year when you could one-shot Pangar. But hopefully we have another good year in 2023. And that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching. Once again, a special thanks to GFJO13, Texas, and Furious for making this year's video possible. And that'll be it from me. I have been Trevor, I go by the Mr. Trails, and I will catch you guys next time.